Thanks very much. I'm Dave Crabtree. I'm the Community Development Director. You got it right, yep, for Brea. And I have lived here more than 10 years. Actually, I've been with the city for 28 years this year. And this has been an effort, Brea Envisions, that's been a long time in forming up. So we appreciate your and the community's patience while we've been working towards this comprehensive outreach process that we're really getting into now, the first phase, as we call it. And Laura will give you, she's keeping track of the stuff that I miss, but I wanted to be able to have some introductory comments. Thank you for attending tonight. Your role as what will be called ambassadors on this effort will be really important. We've positioned Brea Envisions as a comprehensive community outreach process to try to do a number of things. And what the City Council realized a number of years ago is a number of things were happening that suggested to us that we go forward with some kind of comprehensive outreach process. Our general plan, the kind of blueprint for the city, as if you will, is starting to get a little long in tooth. It was adopted in 2003, but it's kind of time to do a midterm or a mid-period update and refresh, perhaps, of the general plan. And for that, we need community outreach. We've got a number of things happening in town that suggest that we may need a new Parks, Rec, Human Services master plan. That was last done in 1997, and a lot of its goals and policies have, frankly, been fulfilled. We've got a great community center across the street. We've got a great sports park that's been constructed. What is the next 10, 20, 30 plus years of those needs look like? And we need to hear from the community and outreach for that. The arts have always been a big thing in Brea, and the idea of a cultural arts master plan is something that's been spoken about. We need outreach for that. Anyway, a number of efforts that have come together that suggest we need to hit this community outreach and do it in, as I've mentioned before, comprehensive fashion. And so that's what we're embarking on. With the help of our consultants at MIG, and most specifically with the help of the Brea Envisions Committee, and you saw who the members were that are here tonight, we've structured a work program that is largely broken out into 3 phases, and you'll hear more about that tonight. But we're in phase 1, and phase 1, like the entire program, is designed to be not only high-tech, but high-touch as well. The technology part of this effort is ramping up. We've got a website that's up and running and has a series of questions on there for folks to go in and answer that will continue to change and evolve throughout the next 9 months or so as the program goes on and wraps up. And so there's that component. Part of what Liz has going here with the mini iPad on the tripod is a program called Periscope, which I think is a Twitter product. Oh gosh, I remember this stuff. And actually it provides a live broadcast out to folks that are following us on Periscope. They get a little alert and say, hey, something's going on with Brea Envision, and there's a live broadcast going on right now. So you can tune that in if you become a follower on Periscope. I haven't tried it yet, but it sounds pretty interesting. And so part of the high-tech effort going on, the high-touch part is getting out to the community one-on-one or in groups, and ambassadors will play a key role in that, as well as some workshops that we'll be talking about and preparing for coming up. So with that, the ambassador training, the ambassador toolkit is something designed to help you folks go out and have some one-on-one conversations, some larger than that conversations. I'm probably now stealing Esmeralda and Laura's thunder here a little bit, and I'll let them get underway with that. But I wanted to welcome you, thank you for this as part of the planning staff and now in the director position in this community, and it's a community I've lived in for quite a number of years as well. It never continues to impress me how efforts like this really get responded to by our residents. You may think this is a small group. This is actually a great turnout for a volunteer effort like this tonight. And we had some more people signed up. They may be trickling in throughout the evening, don't know. But with this on video, we'll get the word out, you'll get the word out, and it will grow from there. So appreciate your participation tonight. And with that, we'll turn it back to these ladies. Thanks.
Thank you, David. My name is Laura Stetson. I work for MIG. We are a consulting firm that has been hired to work with the city, and it's fun for me to actually come back to work in Brea after having worked with David on what he referred to as the general plan, the constitution for the city back in the early 2000s. What really impresses me about this community is you set a course of action and you follow it and you get things done. To have taken something like your Parks Master Plan and your general plan and to accomplish a lot of what you said was important in this community is really unprecedented in a lot of communities that I've worked in. So you can all pat yourselves on the back and be proud that you are going to be part of this next effort, this next wave of people who will be planning the future of Brea and setting those objectives and setting those actions that you would like your city leaders to follow as you go through. And that's what the Brea Envisions program is all about. It's long-range planning. It's putting together a strategic plan, and I'm going to put this up on the screen, put together a strategic plan for the city as a whole. For those of you who have your own businesses or involved in management of businesses, you know how important it is to have a strategic plan, a business plan that indicates what your goals are. A lot of times the business plans are short-term. They'll be 2-5 years or so. When a city is doing a strategic plan, it is a much longer horizon year. And so that's what this process is all about. And the city really wants it to be very grassroots. Brea has a history of asking the community what it is that you want to do. In fact, if you look at downtown, that came out of a very interactive process many, many years ago, over 20 years ago, over 25 years ago, where the community, just like this, was very engaged in planning for the long-term vision of Brea. And again, when the general plan program was underway back in the early 2000s, there was an advisory committee that served in a similar role to the Brea Envisions committee today, and provided wonderful feedback. There were a series of workshops with the community to engage a broader community. But then again, here we are 10, 15 years later, and it's time to do it again. So thank you for your efforts and for your volunteerism to be, some of you both on the committee, but also to be ambassadors to the community as well. David gave an outline of what the whole process involves. He said it's a 3-phase program, and he said that we're in the first phase today, which is the visions, issues, and opportunities. And this is getting to the hearts and the minds of people who live in Brea, to get to understand what you feel about your community, what you think works and you don't want to change, and what's not working and needs a little bit of tweaking, or something that just might not be working at all and you think some overhaul is needed and it needs to be looked at in a much deeper way. And so that's what these questions are geared to do, is to ask people to get questions about how to improve Brea, what to keep the same, to get into their hearts and minds. These are what we're calling, what you're going to be doing as community conversations, because that's really what they are. We want this to be very informal. We want it to be, as David said, high touch, that you're getting out into the community, you're asking these questions, you're interacting with your neighbors, you're asking them to go interact with their neighbors, and we will bring this all back at the end of, well, Esmeralda will actually tell you the precise dates, but we want this to all lead to a workshop in May that will invite the whole community to hear what a lot of the community has said and see if we've missed anything. Because in order to have that foundation for the strategic plan, we'd like to know what people's issues are in Brea. And so that's the first phase, which will take us through May of this year. After that, it will be important to set priorities. And so we will have heard from a lot of folks about a lot of the things that they want to address. But any of you who do budgets for your household or for your business know that you have a set amount of money that can only go a certain way or a certain distance. And even though this is a long-range plan, it's going to be important that the city set priorities. And so the second phase will be saying, great, you had all these great ideas and these wants, but as a community, we need to set priorities and understand what is most important. And certainly we may be able to find varying ways to do many different things, but we need to understand what is most important. And so through the framework and priorities, we'll be working within the constraints of a city budget, but then we'll also start to look at does what the community want go beyond what the city can afford with its current budget, and what opportunities for grants and other things might be out there that the city should pursue to help meet all of the objectives that we discover through the first phase. Once those priorities have been established, that will be the time which the committee, working with city staff, will put together the strategic plan. And the strategic plan will outline the priorities, it will outline metrics that will help the city measure progress towards goals, and it will also set the stage for, as Dave mentioned, subsequent planning efforts. So the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, with those priorities in mind, having heard from the community, your staff and your city decision makers can much more readily and easily put together that Parks Master Plan, or that general plan for the city, or a new capital improvements program, or a cultural arts master plan. So all of those things will be outcomes of the strategic plan, but that strategic plan needs to state where the city will be headed for each of these things that we've mentioned, and anything else that comes out of the process and the community as a whole feels is important to pursue. I think we should start talking about what an ambassador is and what the expectations are and what's in your packet. And I'm going to turn the meeting over to my colleague, Esmeralda Garcia, who is well known throughout Southern California, and I guess beyond that as well, for her ability to really lead groups and to get people excited about their communities and to make sure that the outcomes that the city's looking for as part of this process can be achieved through this ambassador exercise as just the first start. Esmeralda?
Well, great. Thanks, Laura. And I don't know how much more excitement I can bring than what the Envisions Committee has brought already to the program. So I will be reviewing with you the materials that will help you to be successful as an ambassador. But first I want to review the charge and what we're expecting of the ambassador. As both David and Laura have mentioned, the ambassador is really a major part of this. This is a very community-based approach to really getting feedback from throughout Brea to ensure that all of the goals and the priorities that Laura referenced reflect the future vision for everyone in Brea. So starting with that, what we're looking for is, beyond this group as well, and those who get the training online, to go out and have community conversations with your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers, friends, relatives, and we want you to solicit feedback for us. And not just this time around, you've heard that we have 3 phases of the program, but also in the second phase and in the last phase, and really gathering and gaining momentum. We also have quite a bit of youth on the Envisions Brea Committee, so we want to make sure that we hear from everyone in the community, including youth, seniors, stay-at-home moms, soccer moms. So we're really looking at you, those of you who are becoming ambassadors, to tap into all of those resources so that we get to hear from everyone, and that input is reflected in the vision and strategic plan. So with that, if you don't have a packet, we will get one to you, but this is what the packet looks like. And this should contain everything that you need, so I'm going to be walking through all of these pieces. So it's broken out into 2 parts, and want to point out the one that's in blue and then the other packet. So if you want to, at this point, if you haven't already, I know some of you took a peek already, peruse the packet. I'm going to be walking through those. Starting with the blue sheet, this is your cheat sheet for all of the information that you will need for the ambassador program. So with that, if you look at the bulleted list, your first sheet is your welcome, and on there we identify what your role is and the overarching process for this program. With this packet, this is what you will need to complete and go through the process of soliciting your input through your community conversations. I will go through each of these in order, starting with our agenda for tonight, which we've already covered. And then I want to point out that both Dave and Laura have talked about this community meeting that's coming up. This is your invitation for the community meeting that we will have in May, and we will let you know when we have a date available, or when we have selected the date for this meeting, but it'll be sometime in May. And then the pieces that will be very critical for you to have a successful outcome is a guide, which we'll be going through the training in a second, but this is your cheat sheet, so that when you go back home or when you're ready to start a conversation, this is a how-to guide to walk step by step to ask all of the questions that we need to get to from everyone in the community. Your next piece of information is, well, we're not asking you to make presentations, we're asking you to have conversations again with your neighbors and friends and bunco buddies, whatever it might be. So this here is your handout that you can use to speak to what David, Laura, and I have described already with the process outlined here. It's the same PowerPoint that was presented here. And it also has speaking points. So very simple, 3 bullets, 2 to 3 bullets. So you can use this to walk through the process with those you are having conversations with. And then the last component of this section is what we're calling the tracking sheet. For every conversation that you have, you will jot down information about the people that you met with, and then it has Carrie's contact information in the end. And then finally, you have an envelope where you put in your contact sheet with your comment information that I will walk through in 1 second. So that's the first half of the toolkit that will prepare you to go out and have conversations with folks. The next section, which seems a little meatier, has all of the materials that you will need to either hand out to those you were talking to or to use as reference documents. So let me pull those apart. So really the meat of everything is this section here, and this is what you will be using to solicit feedback, to have your conversation with Breans. You also have in your packet the same process graphic that's on the screen now that you can leave behind with folks or use to walk people through if they have any questions. And it outlines the process that has just been described to you, the 3-phase process. And then additional save the date cards to invite folks, or to keep in mind to check the website for the upcoming May meeting. We want to hear from everyone regarding your vision for the future of Brea. So that could include topics related to parks and recreation, arts, it could be economic development, housing, and I'm probably using terms that we use in the city, but to your neighbor as you're discussing it is what you like about where you live, what you'll need in the future. Maybe you're talking with a group of folks who have parents who are aging. What are their needs for where their parents will live as they age in place? Or if you have young teenagers when they go off to college and come back, what are the needs for your family in terms of housing or jobs or things that happen in the city? So what we've done is we've been working together collaboratively with the city departments to organize them in a way that will help us to develop the framework for the strategic plan. So these are organized from A to G, and the topic areas relate to the overall vision for the city, community development, so that speaks to where we live and where we shop. Public work, so that's how the city works, so streets, so it could be how we get to and from work within the city. It could also be related to community facilities like the city hall or a community center. We also have community services, and that relates to the programs. Maybe it is senior programs in the city, so that encompasses quite a bit of things such as arts as well. Public safety, so that's related to police and fire and how people feel safe in the community. And city management and administration, and that speaks more to customer service and how you receive services from the city, whether it's coming to City Hall or other places, and how you interact with city government. And then the last part of this list here is participation background. Since we want to make sure that we hear from everyone in the community, there's a brief survey that we're asking folks to take that will give us some insight as to where people live in the city, maybe their age range, so that if we're seeing that there's a lot of participation from one area but not from another, whether it's a geographic area or demographic area, we can go back out and ask the ambassadors, hey, you know, we see that we haven't had as much participation from youth. Let's tap into our youth ambassadors and make sure we get to the high schools, or let's make sure we get to the clubs and organizations so we can hear from youth. So that's the purpose of that last form there. So this is your guide for how you will be working with the comment cards and then how you will ask the questions. So any questions so far then on this? Yes. And we'll get the mic to you so that we can record it as well.
You ask on this card to state which neighborhood you live in. How would you like them to answer that question? Would you want a street address? Do you want a zone, an area? Is it downtown, west side, east side? How do you want that to be filled in?
And that was intentional too, because we want people to define that for us. Some people might feel more comfortable, they might feel they live in a certain neighborhood that maybe we're unaware of. So, but you can guide them and say, well, how would you identify your neighborhood? Maybe it's the downtown area. Or they might be as general as saying the east side of town. So we want them to self-select and define where they live. As you can see, there's quite a few cards. And the first set of cards, the vision card, there are 3 questions on there. And those questions are similar to what's on the project website right now. So that is a really important one. And so as you go through the questions, you need to consider and kind of test your group. So you're encouraged to go out and have coffee with your neighbor. That's one person, so that's one type of meeting. And that could be very conversational, and maybe you might get wrapped up with your girlfriend, maybe you have small children, they're playing at the park, and you want to have that conversation with them, so you may not have time to do all of the cards. That's okay. One option that you have there is that you can either leave the cards with them and they can fill them out later, or you can very conversationally ask the questions that are on here and take some notes, either there or when you get home. And then ask your friend to take the poll online, because all of these questions will be on the project website as well within these categories. So you have a few options there. We want to make it as simple and comfortable for you all to adapt to your style and the situation that you're in. You might belong to a service club or organization, maybe a subset of a PTA, or maybe you're part of the board of Little League. You can manage a community conversation with your group, take a set of cards, and you can ask to have maybe 5 minutes on their agenda. Maybe you meet monthly. You can take 5 minutes and say, I want to share with you this really exciting process. I'm very excited because the city really wants to hear from everyone. And I know that we've been talking about some of the needs in the facilities where we have our games. And I think this would be really important so that we can share our ideas. So you would have your 5 minutes, but let's say you only have 5 minutes and the group feels, wow, that's a lot of questions and we have an agenda that's really full and we can't get to all of them. So you might ask the group, well, which one do you think is most important to you? And you can pull out that one. So let's say it's public safety. So you can pull that one out, run the exercise with the group, and then you're done with that card. And then you want to encourage them to fill them out, either on their own or after the meeting, and you might collect them there. Or you can have them fill out the questionnaire on the website. The one thing that I do want to stress is the easy one, or the easiest, that's really quick to do, is the very first one, the vision one. So you want to start with that one first, and then get to as many as you can thereafter. So those are 2 examples of how you might do it. And then you might have just a few friends over. You might play, I don't know that people play bridge anymore, but I know I don't play bunco, but I know a lot of people do that these days. So maybe yes, people are nodding. So maybe you have a group of friends over for that. Maybe before you start your game. I've been told that's probably best to do it before you start your game. And then you can go through the same exercise. And maybe there you only ask the first question, and that might be conversational. What we want to encourage you to do too is that and maybe I'll have Laura come down here. Maybe we can run through an exercise. Any ideas that you get from the group that maybe are not on the cards or are very conversational, you can jot them down on the back sheet of your paper. So let's say Laura and I are having coffee and we're commiserating around our kids finishing school, and I say, Laura, did you know that I'm an ambassador for the Brea Envisions program?
You, the last person I'd expect to be an ambassador. That's great.
Well, I am, and I'm just really loving it. And there's a committee that meets monthly, and actually, so my friend's on the committee, and she encouraged me to join it. But the reason why I did it is because I really, my son's in theater, and he's into arts and culture, and I think that's really important to me. And so this is my opportunity to tell the city how they can do a great job of really facilitating the dialogue with the community about arts and culture. And so I got my son involved too, so he's a youth ambassador, and so he's going out and getting feedback. But I wanted to talk to you about it because I know that you have other interests. So I have.
Is this going to hurt or is it going to be great?
Well, I have this set of cards, so I'd like to go through all of the cards with you tonight.
Sure.
So is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I've got lots to talk about.
All right, so
Brea.
let me go get some more coffee and let me run through the cards.
Okay, great. Let's do it.
Okay.
Can I look while you're off getting coffee?
Sure.
All
there
right,
you
thank
go.
you.
So Laura's really good, and she said, yes, let's do it. But let's say she said, you know what, I only have 5 minutes. I need to get home and cook dinner for my husband. I only have, a short period of time. Then I would probably say something like, well, you know what, take them with you. Let's sit down and have our coffee. We only have 5 or 10 minutes, but you know what, let me just ask you, what do you envision in the future for Brea? Let's just start there, and we only have 5 minutes. If you can just tell me that.
Wow, what a great community. I just hope that Brea keeps doing all the great things that it does moving forward. But what I'd really like in the future is for my mom to move into the senior living facility in Brea so she can be close by.
That's great.
Can I have that vision?
I'm going to jot it down. I think that's
thank
a
you.
great vision. And does she have issues now, or like she doesn't live here now?
She doesn't live here now, but it's a great place. It'd be nice to have her close by, and there's plenty of things for seniors to do in Brea, and it'd be nice if she could be here as well.
What things in Brea do you think she would like to do more of?
Oh, canasta.
Okay.
I hope we can play canasta together.
That's great. And how does she get around now? Do you think she would be able to get around in Brea now, or would she have different needs if she came to live here?
I think she'd be okay for a while because the city works really well to make sure that the streets run well. But once she has her license taken away, I just want to make sure that she can get around on a bus system or making it safe to walk.
Oh, that's really great. I think that's a great vision. I know you have to go now, but I jotted down all of your ideas, and I think this is very helpful. But I'm going to give you the cards, so if you have time, please fill them out, or have Doug fill them out with you. Do you want one for Doug too?
No, that's okay.
Okay, well, take these with you, and you know what? Let me give you something else too here. I do have an announcement here for the workshop where we're going to take all of that information. You're going to be able to see the results.
To the workshop?
Absolutely, yes.
Can I bring friends?
Yes,
Oh,
you
good,
may.
good.
And then also make sure you visit the website, which is in the materials there. We also have information on the website, and all of these questions are on the website. So if you don't have time to fill it out, or if you don't want to use paper, you can go on the website.
Well, thanks, Esmeralda.
Okay.
And good luck to your son with his theater career.
Thank you, Laura. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So really, it should be that conversational. So there's a lot of different options that you have to adapt it to your level of comfort, because really that's what we want. We want you to be comfortable and we want the feedback. So let's say in the conversation, Laura talked about how her mom would get around in the city of Brea, and I just had a couple of prompts. So I asked her about why she doesn't live here now and how she might get around. So again, just conversational. And if you're at the point where maybe you're not understanding how important what they're saying might be, just jot as much as you can down, and we'll figure that out. We'll make sure that we put it into our database and that we get all of the feedback. So even if you're not thinking in the categories of the cards, that's okay. Any feedback, all feedback is good. We can take all of that and synthesize it and then present it at the community workshop. So let me walk through then the cards, unless there are any questions about and we'll have an opportunity about the different formats at the end once you have a chance to test it out. So let's walk through some of the cards. Does everyone have a pen or pencil or something to write with? Does everyone have a card? Because I do have cards here. Okay, so let's walk through them. So the first card, Card A, your vision for the future of Brea. I'm just going to review the 3 questions. I'm going to have you fill them out. It shouldn't take very long. What is your vision for Brea? And then what are the top 3 objectives you would choose to describe Brea as you would like to be in the future? And you select 3. Just tick them off. And then third, what do you believe are the major challenges Brea is facing today? And then lastly, indicate how strongly you agree or disagree with the Brea vision. And this is noted here. Brea will be a community that provides great places to live, work, learn, and play, places that respect the community's natural and cultural resources, provide open space, and public spaces that appeal to all Breans, encourage economic vitality, and enhance the overall quality of life for all residents. So you can indicate how strongly you agree or disagree with that. So B, community development. Please share your ideas about where you live, work, and shop. So there's a pattern here. If you've perused the cards, there's roughly 4 questions with each card, and then there's the other section where you can jot down anything else. So the first question here is, what type of development would you like to see Brea emphasize in the future? And you can check off as many as you'd like. What types of housing do you think Brea should emphasize in the future? If my friend Laura, who lives in Brea, were emphasizing senior housing or senior development, then she would probably check one of those off and maybe under other, maybe emphasize senior housing. What types of public gathering spaces would you like to see more of in Brea? And 4th, please indicate the types of improvements you would like to see with regard to Brea's public spaces and shopping districts. And you can select all that apply. Okay, so public works. We would like your comments about your use of community facilities and how you get around Brea. What is the one best thing we can do to improve the quality of Brea's overall physical environment? So that's anything. So that encompasses quite a bit there. Which 3 of the following physical elements are vital to the quality of Brea's physical environment? What types of transportation options would you like to see Brea emphasize in the future? And what 2 of the following options would help how you get around in Brea?
As people are going to their groups, is there an optimum size of a group, or can this be 1-on-1 or a group of 20? If somebody is in Kiwanis and is looking for a way to outreach to the Kiwanis, is that an acceptable group size?
It can, and we discussed this with the committee, with the Brea Envisions committee, and there are a couple of options for that. If you were to have a meeting with the Kiwanis or a large group of 20 or even 15 to 20, we just recommend that you plan ahead and ensure you have enough time on the agenda. As you can see, we're going methodically through each card, and this is a slightly larger group, so you could even take it up to the next level and provide some interaction. So after each card, you might ask if there are any comments or ideas. That would make it a lot more interactive, but it really depends on how much time your group has. So optimally, if you could get some time with the Kiwanis, you could run through this exercise, but the more people you have, then you have to allow enough time for people to jot down their ideas. So in a situation like that, again, you need to plan ahead. If you can't get a significant amount of time, then you might do the conversational or just introduce these and encourage people to go onto the website and take the same survey online. So that's an option. Or you might just announce that, there are a couple of options. You might announce that we're going through this process and maybe share handouts of the PowerPoint presentation, and then encourage people to go through the training and become ambassadors themselves. That's another way that you can get them engaged. But you want to direct them to the website so that they can take the online version of this. So moving on to the purple card, we would like to know your thoughts about parks, recreation, arts, and culture. What is your favorite thing about Brea's parks and recreational programs, human services programs, and/or facilities? What recreational experiences and programs are your top priorities for Brea in the future? What do you love most about Brea's current cultural offerings? And lastly, what cultural arts experiences and programs are your top priorities for Brea in the future? Please share your thoughts about safety and security in Brea. In general, do you feel safe in Brea? And that's a yes or no question. What are the most important elements of police service in Brea? What is the most important element of fire service in Brea? And lastly, what factors contributes most to your feeling safety in Brea? This slide has a snapshot of the project website. So when you log on, you can see that it's interactive. That's the project website address, and this is the handout that you can leave behind with your conversation participants. So there are copies in your kit of the slides that are posted up here now, and this is the web address here. So they can take the online survey there, and there's other information. So currently we have the first 3 questions that are on your cards on the website, so they can participate that way now. I want to give you some facilitation tips and techniques that you can use whether you're in a large setting. Laura and I kind of did some role playing. You saw some of the tips that don't seem like tips, but will if you're new to this. So if people say, you know what, you want to engage your neighbor, and maybe they kind of give you the, I guess, what is that, the Heisman, and maybe they don't want to talk to you. So tips that you can do to engage folks, you can, your last response always should be here, the website. So if people don't have time or say, I'm really not interested, direct them to the website. And we do have, again, the website address on the PowerPoint, and we'll have other materials that can direct you to the website, so you can tell people, go to the website. But other things that you can do maybe in a slightly larger group, if maybe as people are jotting down their ideas, you get folks who start interacting and maybe taking time with the conversation or distracting people. Things that you can do are like, wow, Sally, that's a really great idea. There are more cards here, so we want to get to them, but maybe you and I can have a conversation after our meeting. So you always want to make sure you direct everyone to the cards so you can get your information here or to the website. And just friendly, I know you're all here because you volunteered to do this, so you have a great level of interest. I'm sure you're engaging, so being friendly and just responsive and listening to folks. You might have your neighbor who is retired now and they don't maybe get out a lot and they want to chat with you the whole time. That's okay. You can jot down as many comments as you can, and you might say, thank you, I've gotten all of your feedback. Let me leave these cards with you, and if you have any additional comments, I'd be happy to come back, or you can give them to me in writing later. So, but I think for the most part, just the facilitation tip is just to be friendly and to listen to folks. If once you start interacting here today, if you think of any ideas during the feedback portion, we want to answer any questions that you might have with regards to the interaction or how you might learn the information. It may seem like there's a lot of information here. It's your speaking points outline for you, how you can provide a very general overview, but you can always direct people to the website that has all of the information for the project. And so don't feel like you need to answer all the questions. I guess that's the major tip.
If you are out as an ambassador and somebody says, well, what does development services do? Or what does community services do? Or what about city management and administration? There is a reason why these cards are color-coded, because there is a handout in your packet that corresponds to the colors here that will tell you about what each of the departments does. And so that's something that you should read and maybe not study and know all the answers to if somebody asks you, but at least that is a resource in your packet so that you can answer questions about the different departments at the city. Also, there was a question earlier about the website that's on the screen behind us. The city has a stack of business cards that has the website address on it, and so if you'd like to have those included as part of your ambassador packet to hand out, we have your contact information, and we will make sure, staff, that that those get sent to you. I don't know if we have any here this evening, Carrie, that we ran out. That's a hot ticket, and so we will make sure that we get those to you. We'll mail them to you or find some other way to get those business cards to you that you can hand out. My guess is that there are going to be a lot of people who will look at your stack of cards and knowing that we have busy lives saying, can I do this online? And it's phone friendly as well, so that they can do it not while they're driving, but certainly while they're waiting around to pick somebody up or just passing the time, they'll be able to do it on their phone as well. So we will get those business cards to you. Esmeralda, and in your conversations, a couple other things came up that are important to
Yeah,
know.
one question was, well, it seems like there's a lot to check off, and so how do I have a conversation while having people check things off the box? So the information that we want to get through this survey, whether it's on the card or on the website, is very, very important, because as Laura said, it all really goes back to the different departments and how implementation of the strategic plan will occur. But if you're sitting there having coffee, or like as you saw Laura and I kind of role play, and I'm only focused on my son in theater, so I'm interested in arts and culture. She's interested in her mom, who's a senior, and where she's going to live and how she's going to get around. That's okay. So if it seems a little awkward to sit there and say, okay, here, let me watch you fill this card out, leave the cards with your neighbor or whomever it is that you're interacting with in the conversation. And we encourage you to at least just cover the very first card, because that one is very conversational. As we were discussing, the first question seems very simple, but it can be a little hard to answer. What is your vision for the future of Brea? By asking that question alone, you'll get a lot of data. So as you're sitting there having your conversation with your friends, jot down the high points on the back of your tracking sheet. And so in doing so, we'll collect all of that information, and that's very rich data, even though it may not seemingly fall into any of these categories. You can leave that up to us to summarize, and we'll present it back at the community meeting so that we can share with folks what people are saying. So if what you're hearing in your conversation doesn't feel like it fits into any of the categories or the boxes, that's okay. You can leave the cards with folks, or encourage them to go on the website and take that. But at minimum, you should get to the first card. And the second question, what are the top 3 adjectives you would choose to describe Brea? You can ask that question, just run down the list. And if you wanted to ask your neighbor who's retired now, maybe has time to chat, but she doesn't want to write things down, you can say, would you like me to check them off? You can read them to her. And then the challenges, that could be another conversation. So we encourage you, if it is that type of informal conversation, and that was the comment, that the cards seem a little formal, to have an informal conversation. So you can use this toolkit to adapt to your situation. So the first card really lends itself to a very open and informal conversation, if that's what you want to have. And then folks can fill out the others and give them back to you afterwards, or take the survey online. Well, the role of the ambassador is to encourage folks to fill out these cards, or to respond to these questions, which are the same questions that are on the website.
Okay, so it's not to provoke discussion about these comments on social media. That's
Not at this time.
Okay.
Yeah, because this really will help us to develop the framework for the strategic plan. So we want to make sure that, and again, it seems like this is very formal here for the conversations, but we do need to eventually get to implement an implementation plan. So this will help us to organize the feedback in this way. But it doesn't mean that you can't, personally, you can't create excitement around it. That is part of your role as an ambassador. So you can, through Nextdoor or through your own Facebook page, direct traffic to either the project website or to the city's Facebook page. So that part is part of your role, but to encourage folks to go onto the website and create excitement about it. And the role of the Brea Envisions Committee, however, they will have a communication strategy for them getting the word out through social media too. So that's part of their role. So, and in their capacity as community representatives, there's that transparency with them, because it's not going to go into a black hole. And I know that there are committee members here, and I know that they've committed to that. So through their communication with their neighborhoods or different civic groups, they're going to get the word out and make sure that there is that transparency as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other feedback or questions? Laura's going to run over there.
So if I talk to one of my friends and they want to be an ambassador, what do I tell them? What can they, and how would that work?
Absolutely, they can. All of the materials that are in your kit that you received today will be online. But as you can see, you may need paper copies, so we have kits available. You can take one with you to give to your friend, but we will have them here at City Hall for anyone who wants to be an ambassador. This training will be on the web, so people can walk through it and get a sense for the objectives and the process for gathering feedback. And then they can go out and become an ambassador. So we encourage everyone. You don't need to apply. You just need to be interested and be excited about it. So, and anyone who's here who knows of someone who may want to be an ambassador, you can take a kit and take it with you. And we're happy to give you additional copies of anything you might need. We have more cards, more PowerPoint presentations. So anything you need, Carrie, which her contact information is on the presentation here. Carrie is your contact for anything you might need, and we're coordinating with Carrie. She's sitting here in the room. You can talk to her after our session here today, and she can get to you any supplies you might need.
I think there's one other question here, and then we'll come over there.
And if somebody wants to ask the city council members something, or they ask me that, what would I respond to them about that? If they want the city council members' information, contact information.
That's on the city's website. So that's under the city council tab, so they can go on there and identify how they can get in touch with that council member. And there was one more question.
Hi, I'm wondering about the overall weight of this Brea Envisions effort towards the strategic plan. I mean, how many participants or how many voices are you going to be looking for or expect to get that are going to influence the strategic plan overall versus what is the city doing on its own, aside from the voice of the community, to develop the strategic plan? I appreciate that the voice of the citizens is an important one, but what happens if the response is thin, or what is the city going to do aside from this program to help forge the future of the city?
Well, we hope the participation isn't thin. That's why we're here with you today. So as of now, we have a very engaged Brea Envisions committee who is going out. They have a full rollout for how they're going to solicit. They're working very hard. I was just at their meeting last week. They have a calendar of events that where they've outlined for going out and getting the word out and soliciting feedback through these cards, and also directing traffic to the website. And Laura pointed out the program that's outlined in the process graphic that was presented, this one here, that's in your packet. This is a simplified version. I know it looks like maybe a chemistry, I guess, formula here, but this is a simplified version of all the things that are happening within the program. So in addition to the Brea Envisions Committee, we are supported by a team of Brea Envisions, or a project team. So we have city staff, Laura and myself, and the program also includes other mechanisms by which to get feedback. So there will be other surveys. We're just in the first phase. The city's different department staff they meet once monthly, so they come together and they discuss the program as well. So it's an iterative process here where you see in the first, second, and third phase where everything goes through the community, but it goes back up to the city staff. Additionally, the way the city council is informed is and Brea Envisions Committee is the group that reports to the city council on what they're doing and how they're engaging with the public. So just based on what I've seen with the Brea Envisions Committee, I don't think we're going to have a lack of participation. There's a lot of momentum. They're working very hard to make sure that there is feedback from beyond folks who come to City Hall to come here because they want to come here and engage. They're trying to get to everyone who typically don't come out to city council meetings, for instance. And the ambassador program is an extension of that. So that's why we're asking you to talk to your neighbor. And actually, it's a good way to do community building because maybe people don't talk to their neighbors anymore. This is a good way to go next door and have a cup of coffee. So that, working in conjunction with the staff team, the staff and consultant team, to ensure that they're understanding what's coming from the community will then develop the strategic plan.
And Esmeralda, I think that that's the key point, is that Brea does not have a history of people not participating, to use a double negative. And so I think the City Council is fully expecting that they will get a lot of comment from the community. What the process chart shows you is towards the end of phase 2 in the summer of this year, the city will be, as part of this process, be conducting a telephone survey. So whereas the ambassador process is much more grassroots, it won't necessarily get that scientific, statistically valid results. There will be a statistically valid phone survey to focus in on priorities. And so that's something that will be balanced with this grassroots effort as well.
Kind of repeat the last step here that we shared with you. So when you're done with your conversation, you fill out the sheet here. Well, actually, we missed the last step, but I think most everyone completed this. The very last card is the information about the people you had your conversation with. So on there's information that tells us maybe at the end of the process or midway through the process where we might need to go out and have more conversations. So it's demographic type information. If people don't want to fill it out, that's okay, but we would like to make sure that we're talking to everyone, so we encourage folks to fill out that last sheet. So once you're done with all of those cards, you get your tracking sheet and your cards, and then there's a white envelope that has been provided to you, and you put it into the envelope, and then you get it to Carrie here at City Hall. I think most people are familiar with City Hall, but if maybe you have a friend who's an ambassador and they're not familiar, we can make arrangements to get them from you. But then this comes here to City Hall, and it goes to Carrie, and her information is in the materials as well as in the PowerPoint that has just been presented. So, and there's one envelope, but we can get you more envelopes. Any supplies you might need, just let us know and we can get those to you. So that concludes this portion here. So our next steps, yes, one last question.
There was an April 22nd.
Thank you for reminding us of that. Yes, so you can have one conversation, you can have 15 conversations, you can have as many as you would like, as long as you complete your tracking sheet and any notes you might have prior to April 22nd. Because we then need to Laura and I will take all of this and synthesize it and package it so that we can start to see maybe the emerging themes or top priorities that people have. And then we need to package all of that in a way that we can present to the community for the meeting in May. So we need everything by April 22nd, so that allows us enough time to go back, synthesize it, then share it with the committee and with staff, so that then the entire community can see what their neighbor said and everyone else is saying. So April 22nd is the deadline. We really appreciate you volunteering, so we're hoping that you can stay the course with us. So if you look at the process graphic, there's community conversations beyond the first phase. So yes, we are looking to the ambassadors, if you are interested in staying on the course with us, to continue to solicit feedback and work with the community to get the word out. We are providing this training in the form of this face-to-face meeting, as well as putting it online so people have a sense for what we're asking you to do. But once we get into phase 2, we will provide different materials for you to go out if you choose to, or maybe your neighbor who really enjoyed the conversation with you, maybe they want to be an ambassador. We will ask them to come and help us out for the second phase, and we will do so again for the third phase. So yes, your job can be done if that's all you want to do, but we encourage you to stay with the program throughout the 3 phases. So there will be other conversations that we will have in the second and third phase. The one thing that you will find when you go on the website with your friends or on your own is that the questions on the website will be the same, but there will be more graphics, so there will be pictures, for instance. So that might appeal to some people who like the web tools a little bit more than maybe the paper version. And some people might like the paper version a little bit more, but it'll be very interactive, and that'll keep unfolding throughout the process. So with that, any other questions? Well, on behalf of our team, I really want to thank you for spending your Thursday evening with us. It's really great to see all of you volunteering for this very important and exciting effort. And we're just excited to be part of it. I see committee members here. Thank you for coming out. And we're here for a few minutes longer. So if you need more kits, we're happy to get those to you. Carrie's information's here, and Carrie's here if you want to chat with her as well. And then please feel free to contact her if you need more materials. And any questions you might have throughout your conversations, please feel free to reach out to her, and she'll work with us if we need to provide you with additional resources or feedback on how you can have more conversations. So with that, thank you and have a good evening.